And welcome back to day 34 of Survivor 50 seasons in 50 days. I just finished watching Survivor Game Changers, and oh boy, do I have a lot to talk about on this one today. My apologies in advance. Thankfully, it's only a panel of two, so we're not going to go 3 hours like we did with Worlds Apart, but still. Ian, just to kind of, oh, actually, no. Making a return from 2 weeks ago, roughly, we have Ian joining us again. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, to talk about Game Changers, and just to kind of get us going with this. When Game Changers is first announced during the reunion of Millennials vs. Gen X, and Jeff's bringing a couple people out, Sierra, she voted out her mom, and we're gonna have Zeke and Michaela back, and all this other stuff. Were you optimistic? Where were you at as far as a fan up to the point we're getting to Game Changers?
So this was actually the last season I watched live before Edge of Extinction, because I'm not a fan of this season. I was like optimistic because people return. I'm always optimistic for a returning season, but I'm also very quick to turn the corner. Survivor 50 as well, like very quick to turn the corner. Like, this is not good. I'm much more excited for a returnee season than I am for newbies, but I give the newbie seasons a little bit more grace. The people they introduced at the Millennials vs. Gen X reunion, fine, but you can't call a season Game Changers and then cast the cast of Game Changers. Like, it's just, I hate that they called it that, because like, oh, Caleb almost died. Like, he didn't do anything. Like, it just makes no sense.
If this was just called almost anything else, not All Stars or anything, just call it something that doesn't have this larger than life title, I think that at least the cast would have been received better. Because I do think that 50 is like, I feel like people shit on the 50 cast when it was first announced, but by the time it got out there, it's like, okay, yeah, this is fine. This is all good as far as what the cast we got. And it's not because it's not called Legends. It's not Survivor 50 Legends. It's in the hands of the fans, which still sucks because we didn't get to vote, but at least it's not Game Changers, and at least we don't have confessionals from Game Changer fan favorite Sarah Dawn Thomas talking about how much she is a game changer at heart. So what I did today is I just kind of, because of how I do the marathon, I just basically went down the list of the cast. So I was like, okay, this is probably their game-changing moment, just to kind of figure out what Prod was possibly thinking about. And there were still a fair few people that I just, at least either wasn't shown or whatever. But Sarah Lucina is on that list, along with Sierra, Haley. I kept Caleb off because it's like, hey, we almost killed somebody. That changed the game because we're no longer in Cambodia anymore. As much as I enjoy some of the characters on the Michaela and Zeke, other examples of people that I appreciated on Millennials vs. Gen X, that's like, okay, you brought them back because you always bring someone back from the season prior, but they're not game changers. They're just fun characters that you enjoyed. Who were the people that kind of stood out to you before you even watched the season? Like, when I don't know if you knew who the cast was beforehand, but whenever you first saw the cast, who were kind of the people that were like, okay, I think I'm good?
Yeah, I mean, Caleb's the biggest one, just because, like, just didn't enjoy him at all on Ko Wrong. And he was one of the ones, too, that they, like, advertised as, like, he's a game changer. And, yeah, he has become one, but at the time, they were 2 seasons. I mean, they were still doing seasons elsewhere. So, like, it hadn't changed the game yet. It annoyingly, I think most true fans are in the same boat of, like, we're just stuck in Fiji now forever. So it has changed the game to some extent. Haley, like, literally, what did she do? My biggest issue with these seasons, though, is, like, I don't care if they called it Game Changers and cast, like, hella Haley Fords, but, like, they put Tony and Sandra on a season with Haley. Like, you're just not even giving them a chance. Like, Tony going out second, I mean, helps him win Winners at War. Probably a lot more than, some people would probably admit, because I think if he finishes 6th in Game Changers,
definitely
seventh in game.
Yeah,
There's
he's
no
definitely
chance.
first on win score.
Yeah, he's gone. But he acted like an idiot, and I mean, like, what else was he supposed to do? Like, they're never given a chance. It's sort of the opposite of how I feel like Survivor 50 went with Tiffany. Like, she was just there was no way she was ever doing worse than like 7th place, because she was on the season for like, her biggest thing in 46 was like, I'm Q's opposite. Like, we would butt heads with Q. Q goes home 3rd, and it's like, she's not going anywhere ever. So that's my thing with the returnee seasons, is like, you have 10 people, or say you have 10 people in one boat, you have 10 people in the other boat that are like big threats, and then you have 10 people that they cast. Did they expect a big
they
name?
expect a big name player to run season with the rest of the bizarre picks? Yeah, basically, I think this is what they're saying is, did Prod expect Tony or Sandra or somebody to think, oh yeah, we're gonna basically Boston Rob this whole thing and like put them on a season where they should have an easy shot at the end, or did they see it and say, hey, maybe we could get a new legend out of this? And I would say that Sarah Lucina probably is up there as far as, but even people like Brad Culpepper, I think that this did well for his Survivor legacy, whatever that means. And then there are other people where it's Haley goes out, she gets first juror again. Sierra is looked at as this leader of the alliance, but we don't really show it because the other thing that's very uneven this season is the edit. And we're going to kind of get to all of that. In my notes, I have Ken bequeaths his legacy advantage to Sierra Dawn Thomas from last season, and that's going to be a MacGuffin for a lot of the season, including which he ultimately gets voted out. You brought up Tony. You brought up Tony basically playing with house money this season. Like, he is in on the joke. There is it's very obvious that he's just here to have as much fun as possible, because he knows he's not going to survive long. He knows that he's going to be perceived as this larger than life character that has to go immediately. Were you a Tony fan in Cagayan? First question, but were you excited to see him back this time around?
Massive fan. I'm always excited to see, even though I knew he was never going to do well, just always excited to see my favorite people. It does suck when they're basically given no chance. And, I think it's fair, like, in antithesis to what I was just saying, is I think it's fair to say, like, Sari had like a big target on her back, or was like a major character amongst the season before it started. But she was, I think some people like really look at placements, like Sari got 17th in HVV, not because she was a bad player, just she got idled out of the game. Like, people were like, oh, I mean, like, and also Sari's no threat in the physical side of the game, at like in the challenges, like later portion of the game either. So I think it's fair. Like, I do know people are like, well, Sari made it far in the game. Like, Tony could have, Sandra could have, but Sari had also never won. Like, I do think this season was never going to be won by a past winner.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
No. Another person that I will say I think was a true game changer before we, get real into it is Troyzant. You talked about people whose legacies got better. His legacy is like dead because of this game. And I
love Troyzant. I've always liked Troyzant.
Yeah. He's got 15 confessionals in this season. I mean,
yeah. When we get to Final Tribal, I'm going to talk about how Troyzant, yes, it wasn't one of the greatest performances of all time, but it's the one that's resonated with me more than almost any Final Tribal, because he's just like, yeah, I was just a big fan, and I'm so thankful to be here. I understand y'all are not going to vote for me, and this is totally. I love that moment from Troyzant. Troyzant is fun, and he is, he's one of a few fans on One World. He's one of the only people that actually understands what the game is in One World. His whole story arc of this is my island, going versus the women, plus Tarzan and Leaf. I've always been a Troyzan fan, and it just kind of sucks that him, among other people, kind of get buried in the edit this season. What do you think of the new tie vote rule?
So this is a rule in my org, as
Yes.
you know, that we have adopted. That is more so for like just pacing issues. It just takes way too long to revote and stuff. I like it. I think you should go into tribal, not to be Keith, but like you should go into tribal with a plan. And if I think there's more gameplay in knowing that it could be a tie, you're out. Like I do think originally they should have done what they still do, where if it's a tie, you revote. I just think there's strategy would be so much better if we would see a lot better strategy than like, oh, got to split the vote. That we would have seen such an evolution by now of things I can't even think of because I just not smart enough to do. I'm not in the situation either. Like,
yeah,
we would have
that's more what it is. You haven't been put in the shit to like.
It just, I wish they would have kept it. Like, I really do. I think that's such a even currently, like what we're just getting these cookie cutter seasons. Like that could be something that makes the game more exciting because it's still let's split the vote and then we'll vote out who we want to. Like even to that, like the exciting thing would be they play an idol, but even that's not exciting anymore because that's in the plan. It's I don't know. It's one of my big gripes that they didn't keep it. Because we've seen it in our community, like how even in our games that we've hosted, like those are those are good rounds. Like when every vote matters. Like you can't just have one person throw in a vote. It would make things a lot more exciting, and I don't think it takes away. I don't think it makes it more luck than strategy.
No,
where
you
like
still
it's
have to
kind of a toss up.
And this is so I do enjoy this twist, and I'm not going to say that often today. I do enjoy this twist. I also enjoy the way that it was beforehand, where hey, we're going to revote if you guys can't decide. We're going to go to rocks because I do enjoy rocks because it happens so rarely. I think in this season for me, because I know what's coming, because I have the benefit of hindsight now. Okay, this is just twist number one. Actually, no, twist number two because we've already gotten the legacy advantage introduced. This is twist number two of a lot of the pre-merge. I'm fairly certain there's one episode, maybe two, where no type of twist happens or no type of advantage is introduced to the game. And I feel like this season is the jumping the shark moment of the big moves era, and we're still only basically like 3 seasons into it. It's downhill after Millennials versus Gen X, but this is the moment where it's like, okay, we've now just really lost. We've lost everything because of what happens at that final 6. Me and Phil talked about this for Second Chances, how he thinks that Sierra Easton is one of those big game-changing players, and I do agree with him with that. As far as she is that person to go to rocks post Pascal dying in Marquesas. Like we have, and she is Miss Big Moves in Second Chances. Whether we like it or not, this is like the Second Chances is like that jumping off point of big moves. We get the word resume said in Millennials versus Gen X. Both those words are used ad nauseum this season to the point where pre-merge, I decided to do a drinking game, and then I stopped halfway through because people kept using those two phrases. Miss Big Moves gets voted out first, unanimously, like when she voted out her mom. We really don't have to talk about that. The other thing I really want to talk about is Crazy Debbie referring to Suri as Cherie. This season is Sandra fan fiction. So I'm a Sandra person. I've always been a Sandra person. I think that specifically her game in Winners at War, like the Parvati fans have really just hijacked that whole thing. But I really love her game in Winners at War because it's the hero's fault. Game Changers is basically oh, we just want to watch a season where Sandra has complete control and just kind of see what happens. And we do get that until the next twist we're going to get to. Are you a Sandra person, and did you need Sandra 3.0, and did you enjoy Sandra 3.0?
I'm also a Sandra person. I think the Sandra HVV game is probably the most underrated game ever because everyone's like, "Oh, Parvati should have won." There's never been someone that plays the jury better than Sandra, probably ever. I don't know if there ever will be someone that plays the jury better. Just knowing how to win. Like there's multiple ways to win Survivor, and I think a lot of people get tunnel visioned, especially even in the middle of the season. Like this is the only way I can win the game. Like I'm at the final 6. This is the way I can win the game. Like every time someone gets voted out, got to reanalyze everything. Like Sandra is just the best. I people that think Sandra is like not good at Survivor, I don't even. That's it. That's all I need to hear. I'm done listening to.
Yeah, they
what
have
you're
no concept
saying.
what the game is. Yeah.
You. I mean, her beating Lil should be no question whatsoever, and her beating Parvati, I think those are just Parvati fanboys, fangirls. I wouldn't have been mad if Parvati won. I mean, again,
No,
that might be one of the best losing games of all time. But Sandra 3.0, not needed for me. I think it would have been awesome for her to come back, hindsight, winners at war, as like I've played twice, I've won twice. She wouldn't have gone anywhere if that was the case. But I do think there's a chance that she makes something happen if that is Sandra 3.0. Like, kind of like Suri this season, like on 50. Like, we're never going to let her win, but like, we'll just let her. She's never going to win a challenge. Like, we can just vote her out whenever we want.
Yeah.
But
and it's going to take
think
someone smart to realize that, because that was the Suri thing in 50 is, or at least from what we're shown, it's like, okay, Aubrey's sitting here saying, like, and if it's not Aubrey, it's probably not going to be anyone that says it there. And in here, it's okay, and we're going to get to the Sandra Boot episode because of what is not shown to us in the episode. But I do feel like they had the right idea this time around of, okay, we're getting close to the merge. Let's nip this in the bud before we get to the merge, and she basically Suri's her way through the game like Suri does in this season. So we lose Tony. Tony spies on Troyzan and Sandra. Tony goes home after the spy bunker was definitely a thing. Episode 2, and this is where the season already starts to go off the rails, because I don't know who's on what tribe anyway after episode 1. And episode 2, we swap to 3 tribes for reasons. And reasons is going to be a big word that I use today. And they are swapping 2 rounds into the game in episode 2 for reasons. When for you in a season of 20, if we never swap again, where is that swap point for you as an audience member?
So you're saying one and only swap.
If there's one swap, where does that happen for you?
I think 15, maybe 16. But again, I'm someone that like you can't rotate your plans based on what's happening in the game. You just have to stick with what you plan for, unless there's some sort of injury or medevac or something, where I understand why they move things just to keep things interesting. But 15 to 3 tribes of 5, at that point you're mixed enough. The only reason I don't like that, though, and I could even say 2 tribes of 7 at 14, is because there's less of a chance you're going to get like a 4 to 1.
Yeah,
I feel like 4 to 1 is I don't know what the math is, but I feel like 4 to 1 is more likely than a 6 to 1, or I feel like even a 6 to 1.
Yeah,
a 6 to 1, you're in a swing spot too. I feel like that could. I don't know. I like when they get a chance to be in their tribes enough to where they make sense. Or there's some basis for like they don't need to make the game fluid. I feel like they're doing that now, where like voting blocks will just happen because that's how the game works. They don't need to make voting blocks happen.
And I feel like that's what they're doing here, especially based off of
Yeah.
Millennials versus Gen X. I think that they were so trying to vote Game Changers and Millennials versus Gen X, or not Game Changers, Second Chances and Millennials versus Gen X, where they're so trying to continue this evolution of strategy, voting blocks and trust clusters, that we're just going to continue to swap you. But for the audience, it's like, okay, I don't know who's with who, because we haven't had any time to kind of watch. And so I think during the second swap, on Sarah and Ozzy and all their tribe, they're talking about who comes from what. And I'm sitting there like, I can't remember what happened 4 episodes ago on that tribe, because that tribe didn't exist long enough for it to resonate with me. You know, I can sit here today and tell you everyone from Kucha still, everyone from Ogakor. If you want to go to a season that has a swap, I can do the same thing with Drake and Morgan. Oh no, Drake and Morgan doesn't have a swap, but okay, everything in, I don't know, Vanuatu. Like there's a swap in Vanuatu. It's still not fair because it's men versus women, but you know what I'm saying. But you know what I'm saying. I like looking at tribes and being like, okay, especially as I do Survivor Wordle. Like I need to know where you came from. And then Game Changers is one of those moments where it's like, I don't know. I know Sandra and Tony on the same tribe, and that's really it.
Tribes don't even matter at that point. Like that's why there's so much less lore about it's Kucha versus Ogre. Like Jeff says the tribe names, I'm not listening. It doesn't.
Yeah, I don't care about the tribe names. Yeah, I can tell off the top of my head, the most recent tribe name that I can remember is Sele. And I don't know why I remember Sele, but like
is that the blue tribe from 40?
It's the something tribe from 40. It's definitely a tribe on 40. I don't remember who was on it.
Because I think the orange one started with a D, but I think Sele is blue.
Okay, so but that's the thing is like before that I couldn't tell you. You know, even I would just watch Game Changers today and I couldn't tell you. Episode 3, we get another twist. We're getting the double tribal twist. Where both losers go to tribal, and this is where we learn about where we get our hero moment, wink wink, with JT, because JT making his triumphant return from Heroes versus Villains. You know, hopefully he's learned a thing or two since then. Starts a live tribal in a situation where he probably should kind of shut the fuck up. What did you think of this? Because this is, I'm fairly certain, the first time that we get this twist. What did you think of the twist, and how do you think the key people's kind of navigated it? And before you go into Haley Ford's "I didn't consent" is one of my favorite lines ever. That alone makes her a game changer. Okay, go ahead.
I think the twist is so dumb because like we just swapped to 3 tribes. Like why are we swapping to smaller tribes to then vote in an even bigger tribe? It's just doing stuff to do stuff. And I feel like they think it creates excitement, and it might for a casual viewer, but like it's such bad gameplay. Like imagine being one of the, I don't know how many people apply now for a season, but imagine being one of the many people to apply. You get through all the rounds. You get selected to go on the show. You have one chance to win the game, make whatever you want to do, make a name for yourself, and then you get some bullshit like this. Like I'm always thinking of it from the perspective of a player versus like, oh, that was exciting to view. I don't care about that at all. Like as long as the gameplay is good, or as long as what they're doing makes sense and it's fair for the players, then the best player or the most deserving player is going to win. Malcolm wasn't going to win the game, or like luck at the final 17 isn't going to change necessarily who wins all that much, but I hate it. It's just so backwards to what they just did. And
what they just did, it just happened. And
last week, and we just talked about like knowing who's on what tribe. Now they're at the same tribal. Who knows? Who cares? It doesn't even matter.
Why is Haley going up to talk to these people? Oh, because she was used to be on a tribe with most of these people, and JT's trying to help Culpepper out because he used to work with a few of these people. You know, Haley still like Haley and JT still vote for their current tribes, even though they're trying to do a whole bunch of stuff. But we're just not seeing and hearing all that because we don't care. We don't care because we haven't had any time to watch these people interact with these folks. Where it's I'll go to Worlds Apart where Mike is basically trying to throw a challenge right before merge to help Kelly, but because we've seen them on Blue Collar enough, I won't say that we care, but it's like we understand why this is happening. I don't understand why this is happening because you haven't spent enough time with these people to care if any of them go, especially in an all-star season. Who gives a shit if somebody from your OG tribe goes? It doesn't make any sense. But we have this moment in my notes. I have fucking JT, you dumb piece of shit, because he gets Malcolm taken out. Ty plays one of three idols that he plays in this game for game changer fan favorite Sierra Don Thomas. Malcolm goes home. He
plays it for Pretty Lady.
He plays it for Pretty Lady. You're right. He plays it for Pretty Lady. Malcolm goes home visibly frustrated, and this is Sandra going on a warpath like she does with Tony in the premiere. She goes on a warpath with JT in the following episode. Before we get to that, just want to talk about Crazy Debbie for a second, because Debbie Millennials Gen X, or not Millennials, Korong. It's not one of my favorites. I understand her archetype, and that's why she's not one of my favorites, because I don't like that archetype. Very similar to Philip 1.0 and Coach 1.0. Debbie 2.0, I feel like, leans into the character, because I do feel like Philip 2.0 plays more of the real Philip Shepard. Coach, I feel like every other time except for 50 plays real Ben Wade. I feel like Debbie plays a caricature of what she was on Co Wrong, to the point where like everything that she does with Brad and Haley, it's like she's doing this for the camera, and I'm so embarrassed for everyone being out there. Thoughts on Crazy Debbie?
I mean, I'm a Debbie hater. I hate Debbie every time she's on the screen. I don't even hate that archetype. I actually cheer for like the older kind of like, I don't know, not exotic woman, but like just different than like, I don't know, Heather from 41, just like different than your basic older woman mom type. But Debbie is like genuinely one of the luckiest people ever. Like, imagine if she's on Millennials Gen X and then she comes on, she's Michaela, like just swap them for a second. She's the same on 34 as she is on 33. Like they're the exact, she's going to be the exact same person. I do agree. She sees herself on 32, sees how people react to her, which is probably more important. And then she just plays into it. And I'm sure, someone was like, who cares? Like, they already think you're crazy. Like, you might as well just be crazy. Another person that, like, why are you on a season called Game Changers? Like, it just makes... Yeah, she is not
the Haley thing
favorite.
used to be funny to me. The Haley thing used to be hilarious to me. Like, oh, yeah, this woman just doesn't get it. Watching it today, it's like, no, she does get it, and she doesn't care because she's trying to play to the audience. She doesn't like, she knows what Haley did here. Back in the day, I was like, oh man, she's just that delusional. It's like, no, she's not that delusional. She sees what's happening. She's not dumb. She gets it, and she's just leaning into this. And I think that we get that moment where she pretends to be drunk at the merge. Where it's like, yes, this is, I liked that by comparison to everything else, because it's like, okay, at least you're admitting to being in on the joke. At least we're seeing you be real and saying, oh, I'm playing a character here. I also feel like Brad Culpepper's getting a lot of PTSD with this because of how he was treated by Candace and the rest of the people on Redemption Island and Blood versus Water, where he's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing it. He's making these social bonds again this time, and Debbie's just cussing him out in front of everyone. And I definitely feel for him pre-merge, because he's got this volatile human being. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Culpepper once we hit the merge. Culpepper, for you going into the season, was the same question. Just, were you at least interested to see how he would perform a second time, or were you just like, I don't give a shit?
I honestly didn't really remember him. This was at a time where I was like, I really, once Second Chance happened, I was like, okay, we're not going to get people from the few seasons prior. And I didn't watch Blood versus Water live. I watched Kagyan live, and it got me back into the show because I hated Caramon so much. I was like, I'm done. And then I watched Kagyan. I was like, okay, I'm back in. I think I watched Blood versus Water after this season because I don't even remember having, like, they were like, Sierra voted out her mom. I was like, what? And also, who cares? Like, a Second Chance, they said that all the time, and I was like, okay, this season, I'm like not even.
I need to see this moment
watch.
that she votes at her mom. Then, if it's gonna keep going,
Yeah, I'm like, well, do I watch it or do I just like keep hating it in my own brain and just never watch it? But I think Brad is like a very, he's kind of like, I mean, again, just relating to current, like, he's like Jonathan Young to me. Like, I think they are, well, Brad's first time is something else, but like, I think they're very underrated players. I think being married to Monica and Monica being who Monica is helps Brad out a lot. Like, having a partner and a wife that has played the game, that's like literally the nicest person ever. She between Blood versus Water and this was definitely coaching him up, like, hey, you gotta stop, you gotta be better at X, you gotta be better at Y.
Just be the villain that they were trying to make you out to be in Blood versus Water. They were trying to make you look like this dickhead. Just be the dickhead, but also be nice enough that you have these troops around you the whole game. And he did. I think that and we're going to talk about it a little later, where you said Parvati having a great losing performance. I think Brad Culpepper is up there. At least the pre-merge Brad Culpepper has all these people want to work with him, and at the merge he has it too. But because of what this season kind of turns into, it just kind of goes off the rails for him and us as an audience. Take a drink every time Sarah Lucina says she's playing like a criminal. It's a lot. Sugargate, probably the last fun moment of the season. Everything dealing with Sugargate. JT and Michaela have a beef. The coffee, Sandra eats all of the sugar, tells only Varner that she's doing this. There's the breaking of the fourth wall, and inevitably the JT blindside. I guess for you, one, thoughts on this, but two, is there another moment that you can pinpoint in this season where it's just light past this, just like, okay, this is fun. I'm having fun again.
No, I honestly can't. I think that's 90% their fault, 10% just like who was doing well in the game. Like, if Troyzan was doing well, we probably would have seen more of him, probably would have had more fun moments, but he just, they were choosing to highlight other people due to what was going on. But I also think, like, you can't have fun moments when every round is like, oh, here's this change. Here's, we don't have anything this, or no, we have
nothing this episode. Don't worry, we're gonna get to the next episode to say. We don't have anything this episode. We have this fun.
See, that's how
we have fun. Yeah, we have fun here.
Yeah, this is what it could have been for like 80% of the season. Obviously, in a returnee season, they're gonna do new stuff. Like, not even new stuff, but they're gonna do twists. It's just like, yeah, you can't have fun, or else you're considered to not be a serious player. You're a goof. Like, you're not considered to be someone, not necessarily, I guess I did just say serious player, but like, you're not taking the game seriously enough. It's just, how are you to have fun in this? And I'm glad Sandra does, because Sandra is just being Sandra. And if this is, I don't know, pick someone else, even someone that, like, Sari, probably, I could see her doing something like this, but like, Parvati is not doing something like this.
No.
Like, it's just, and it's no fault of her whatsoever, but it's like, you can't, how can you have fun if you're just being put in a box, not being allowed? it's also not fun when you're like, oh, what's the next twist going to be? Like, why am I even having these conversations if we're going to be in these tribes for 30 seconds?
Well, that episode, the question is, at least from what we're shown, Michaela or JT, and Sandra goes to Michaela and was like, "Hey, do you think we can win challenges without JT?" And she says yes, and it's like, yeah, and also what I feel like was left on the cutting room floor of, hey, we're probably gonna swap soon anyway, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let's just get revenge for Malcolm. Be done with this. Send JT home, not knowing that he has an idol, and he goes off. JT 3.0, probably the last time that we're going to get a JT, and just what a fall from grace from Tocantins. And it's not even like heroes versus villains where he has control and then blunders up. It's just blunder after blunder this season for 3 or 4 episodes. We didn't get a twist this episode, but you know what happens at the very beginning of the next episode? We get a swap. And not only do we get a swap, we also get Exile Island featuring John Cochran returning from Caramoan. And I know the funny meme that everyone likes to bring up is, wouldn't it have been crazy if Ozzy was going? It's like, yeah, it would have been even funnier if either the winners had gone, or well, I guess the only winner at that point, and Sandra, or just anyone that, is not a cartoon character. Like if Troy Xanagano would have been funny, but like if Suri goes, do we care what advice Cochran gives to Suri there?
Cochran's probably like, what the hell am I doing here? Yeah, like, why am I giving advice to Suri?
But he gives it to Crazy Debbie instead, and she, in the same episode, we have our advantage menu this time, which we're gonna get again in 38. Just a lot happening in this one specific episode, and the one thing that isn't shown, which I feel like was probably the most important to the plot of the season up to this point, and starts the story of the eventual winner, is they throw the challenge to get rid of Sandra. And we have to find out after the season is over that was the case, that they purposely threw a challenge to get rid of Sandra because they did not want her getting to the merge. Why do you think they cut this out and kept all of this? Because this is essential to the Sarah game moving forward. And Sandra is the main character of these first four-ish episodes. Why do you think they cut this important piece out?
2 parts. One, ego of the people on the show. They think that like what they're putting, the Debbie reward, they could have cut part of it. I mean, obviously they're not going to cut the whole thing. They made a whole challenge about it, or a whole, hubbubaloo about it. They got Cochran to come, but like they could cut some of that. They could cut some of pretty much anything, but that's their, like what the show put in. So that's going to get precedent. I agree with that comment. They hate when all-stars, return players throw challenges. They hate when they see, especially people like, not Caleb's gone, but like they put Caleb in the game because he almost died. So when you say that that's like a reason you're putting someone on the season, you don't want to highlight something that's the exact opposite. But I do think they did a good job of never mentioning it. I mean, it's never, you never talk about it. It's not there. Like you said, we find out after the game. So it does suck, because that is like the beginning of Sarah's game, really, because it's Sandra's game up until.
It's Sandra's game. Sandra is the main
point.
character.
And I think, had they, I don't know, because I feel like they probably saw, in my opinion, they probably saw that happening. Obviously, they have so much footage, but they're like, we care less about this footage of them throwing the challenge, and also actually showing them throw the challenge is, more challenge time you have to take up. It's just 90-minute episodes. We're getting that 100%, but 60 minutes with John Cochran having confessionals on a season he's not on. Imagine the Zach Brown episode with 60 minutes, dude. That would have been awful.
Where they spelled the name of his
It was
season
already
wrong.
awful.
We also, so watching it today, I'm thinking about how they could have enforced twists this season, specifically the swaps, and made it work, I think, a little bit better. They could have just done one world. They could have just done one world this entire season, and that would have been awesome. You have three, well, you start off with two, you split to three, same beach. Two of you guys are going to the same tribal anyway. You're on this. I think that a one world twist and removing even half of the things that happen this season, or just like get rid of the swaps, or maybe just have one swap. I think a one world twist actually does this season maybe a service. Am I crazy in saying that?
No, I mean, I was on for One World before with you. I'm a One World believer. I think the season just gets a lot more hate than it deserves. Any season with like a dominant winner, it can't just be boring. Like anyway, I'm not gonna go on that rant.
Yeah,
but I've always thought that One World for a returning season would be fun. It would just, especially if you're, like you said, you're gonna do so many swaps. It's almost like One World. I've always wanted to do like,
but they didn't. Thailand.
We've had stuff in our games where it's like the people aren't even in tribes. You're just like the first 7 people to finish are immune. The other 7 people are going to tribal. If you want to throw and not go, then. But I hate when they do that and then they also let the winners go vote. Like it should just be the people that lose.
Yes.
But it would have. I mean, I think it would have been. It couldn't have made it worse. And
it couldn't have made it worse.
It could have, but like, how could it have made it worse?
Well, we don't like One World, so
yeah. But we also hate game changers.
Yes, and which leads me to game changers. If when I saw the preview for 51 and they said this is the open era, I'm like, this is going to be game changers. It's going to be 15 game changers. It's going to be the exact same thing because 15 game changers are probably the most egregious of just, we're just going to throw all these things at you and you're just going to have to deal with it. I think that's what the open era is about to be. It's going to be a whole bunch of seasons of all newbies playing game changers and in the hands of the fans with a mix of 2 of the 40 seasons. And just kind of, it made me feel like I don't know how I feel about this anymore. And I'm obviously going to watch 51, but I'm not. Maybe I'll get that out of my brain by the time 51 shows up. But that's just. I want to wear the tribal immunity idol. Like it's just something that I've always wanted to wear. Just the suit. We're not going to talk much about the Varner thing. What I kind of more want to touch on is Sarah's reaction. And because she says, oh, yeah, I come from a conservative household, blah, blah, blah. This is the only, because something that happens later in the season where Cerie's sitting there saying, oh, yeah, Officer Sarah's not going to vote out Zeke. She feels protective of him. It's like, we haven't seen that at all since the Varner episode. We are never shown Sarah and Zeke's relationship past this moment, which made me resonate with it even more this time because this is going to be the last time that we see this sort of relationship moving forward in the game. And that kind of leads me to the bigger question of, based off of the winners edits, whatever, based off of the edit, when did you really start to care about Sarah, or at least realize that she was there as more than just another body?
I usually start to care about the people's games when there's like 9 people up. I feel like 9 is like a huge swing vote. I think, it's rare that the people who finish 9th and 7th are nobodies in the game. At that point, you're voting out people that you think at that point can win the game. I just don't know if I really ever. This is just one of those seasons where there's just so much going on that it hampers the game of the winner because there's just so the production's doing so much. It causes the players to play irrationally. I don't know why it's so dumb that the last three full returning seasons we got are Game Changers 40 and 50. And 40, they were like Edge of Extinction, that's it. Like, do you guys play? Why do they only think winners? Like, people that play the game that don't win are still good players. Like, why don't we let them play too? I don't know. It's what was your original question? I don't know. I lost.
Just when did Sarah start to resonate? Because for me, I do feel like it is the Varner vote. But what bothers me is the Sarah Zeke relationship is never really furthered. We just have to hear from Cerie's mouth, rounds later.
I think because I think Sarah is like in this instance at the Varner Zeke thing, she's like highlighted more because she is conservative and different than the other people at that vote. I always remember Andrea at this vote more so because she's so vocal.
Tara Moen, she has to deal with not the same thing, but she's had to deal with another crazy moment. And now she has to be put back in a spot where it's like, I hate this shit.
Yeah. And to touch on Varner briefly, why is he here on this to begin with? Why he sucked in 31? Like I don't get. I don't get. He's one of the ones too that I'm like, why are you here to begin with? And then he does this, and it's just. I think it's an important moment for the show because we'll never see anything like this ever again. I will say that with confidence
because they wouldn't show us.
Not only would they not show us it, they wouldn't even cast someone that you're not casting Shannon Limbo anymore. Like we're just past the point, and to some extent that sucks, but I get it at the same time. I think that we're not casting villains anymore is absolute horseshit, but or we're not casting assholes is what Jeff said. But yeah, I remember Andrea the most. And I think is she 9th place?
She's 8th place. It's 8th place.
She's always in that range.
Michaela's 7, yeah. Yeah, Andrea is Mrs. Consistent on Survivor. Like she's probably I would say the male comparison would be like Penner. These
Penner,
characters just kind of go. Oh, I guess James. Oh no, James. Yeah. I would say Penner because I like Penner. I don't like James. Michaela and Cirie have these couple of moments at the merge where, and this has always resonated with me as a black, where Cirie is basically saying, "Hey, we have to act different because Michaela is portrayed a lot differently this time than she was in Leonard vs. Gen X, where she's still shown as antagonizing, but she's antagonizing fucking Pigtails. So like, it's fine with me because that's a dumb name, and I would antagonize the shit out of them too." Yeah. Other than that, she's just shown as this smart individual that gets very intense during challenges, and that ultimately Will Wall and Jay decide to vote out because reasons. Here, she's shown like from jump as, Tony and Aubrey even saying like, oh, that's when they try to tell Sierra we're gonna vote Michaela, but it's actually, oh, that's dangerous. We don't need that type of attitude around here. And that just kind of is her story arc throughout the season. I don't really have a question with it. It's just more of this is another one of those big Cirie moments where we're just seeing her bond with these people, and it makes sense why she continues to make it far in all these games, because people just, when she has these conversations with folks, people just buy into it. And I do think what she was having was genuine, because that is a real thing. But I really loved this moment, and this is once again one of those last moments before the merge shitfest begins. And the merge shitfest begins because of Cambodia and Millennials versus Gen X. I've talked about it a lot from basically since Worlds Apart, of this Worlds Apart, Blood versus Water, all of that, where like That was the end. Like, we are now in the era of big moves and resumes, and it doesn't matter who you're aligned with. If you have any sort of control in the game, you are going next. No matter what, you are going next, to the point where this season the pre-merge is confusing because of all the swaps. The merge is confusing because we don't know what's going on. At any point, we have this group of 6. It's like, okay, cool. Why are they not voting together? Why are y'all not voting together? What is this? What was that moment for you, merge wise, where it's like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just gonna watch the rest because I'm invested, I guess, but I have no idea what's happening.
I would honestly say Haley getting voted out. Like, I don't. She's just not your typical merge boot in a season like this. It makes almost no sense why a player like Haley is going home at the merge. Like, normally you're taking out a big target, you're getting rid of a challenge threat, but we're just taking out Haley. At that point, I'm like, what is happening? Then Ozzy goes.
Where he says, good luck getting food. It's like, dude, it's season 34. No one gives a shit.
That's like the worst. I mean, I'm an Aussie fan, but that's like the worst part about him is like when he gets voted out, he's immediately butthurt to the point of like, you guys can't survive without me. Like, bro, they're not gonna die.
They're not gonna die.
It's a weird merge boot order. Like, Haley to Ozzy to Debbie. Who's after that? Zeke after that?
I think Sierra's next, and then Zeke.
Zeke, then Sierra.
Zeke then Sierra. Okay, and we're gonna.
It's just a weird order. I don't know, and it still to this day makes no sense. Like, normally you can kind of like, thinking back on any season, I can kind of narrative my way through it. I mean, there is no narrative this season partly because of what, all the stuff in the pre-merge. And once you start voting blocks, it's almost impossible to get out of voting blocks. And if you start voting blocks at final
13 or 12,
8-17 with Malcolm.
Oh yeah, with the
then it's impossible. You're not getting out. There's no narrative on this season, and I think it's hard to be like, oh yeah, Sarah's game was so great because
we can't see, and it's not because she's being buried. It's just because all these things are happening. We just every round, it's just blah blah. Big move is really what it came down to today. And, I think the last time I texted you during the day was during the Varner thing. Right after that, I had my interview, and from there, which by the way, 15 minutes after the interview, they called me and said, we want you. So like, I might be moving to California.
Oh, yeah.
Blah, 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 big move, blah, blah. Ozzy is just Debbie's just like, hey, we should vote Ozzy. And then she uses her extra vote. So now we're up to 0 for 4 on voting advantages in the 30s. Don't worry, we'll get to 0 for 5 in a little bit. Debbie goes because she gets too big for her britches 5 minutes before tribal. So now Debbie randomly goes. From there, Zeke and so I'll tell you when we go off live, but I know the reason that Andrea and Zeke ended up hating each other, but we're not shown it. It's just all of a sudden these two hate each other so much that one, Andrea gives a voting confessional for Zeke where she's basically like, you suck at this game, I hate you, blah, blah, blah. And then when they have to get together to vote out Debbie, I think, it's like, oh, well, can we get these strange bedfellows? Can we get them in the same group to vote this way? Gabe, find me on Instagram. I'll message you. It just, nothing makes sense. The story doesn't make sense. And then all of a sudden, we're sitting there. We lose all of these people with no rhyme or reason. And you're just kind of sitting there like, okay, well, who's next? It's not really, I'm rooting for this. I'm rooting for Sari, but like outside of that, I have no one to really root for. There's no story being told to me at all. There is no story at all except for big moves resume. And this is a problem that started back in 30, and It's just hits such a big peak in the season, specifically that final six, that you just emotionally check out. Thoughts on the concepts of big moves, resume, all of that. What, like, do you think that this is really where Survivor jumped the shark, or are you one of these people that think, oh, it was in the 40s?
No, it's now. If not already. The 30s is the big move era for me. I mean, it's continued into the 40s, but that's where it started. Yeah, like you said, there's just no story for anyone, which again, for a casual viewer is exciting. Anybody can go home in any episode. True, bad, and also good for a casual viewer. Like they turn it on, they have no idea who's going home. The episode's over, they're done. But to me, I'm like, when we get, and even some of the episodes are fun because you don't know who's going home. But I know, looking into the future, like, how is this going to be for the winner? Like, will this winning game be worth it? I think part of the reason of watching is watching the winner's game. I think that's on a first rewatch. That's exactly what I'm watching almost the whole time. Is what do they give us for the winner? How do they get from the point where everyone is at the marooning, winning the game, because no one else is doing that? And there's not that there isn't a narrative for Sarah. It's just, is it earned? Is it enjoyable to watch? Enjoyable to watch on this season? No way, because it's just, there's so much going on. That like you said, there's no narrative to follow. There's no, oh yeah, Sarah did this last round, so that affected her for this round. It's like, oh, we voted out Debbie because big move, and now we're gonna vote out Sierra because the next big move. That doesn't do anything. But I understand why production likes that kind of thing, because the casual viewer is like, man, that was an exciting episode. I didn't expect them to go home. They don't think about why they went home. They don't think about the groups that voted for them. It's just one episode. Oh, this person went home. This many people are left. That's it. So I see where it's coming from, because most viewers are casual, but I hate it. And it's still to this day, they care more about the casual viewer, and now apparently the 6 to 14-year-olds more than anyone else.
Which is where I started watching. So I mean, I was around that age, but it's obviously it's a lot different now. And I think Zeke is the I would say the most egregious of everyone. Like, I like Zeke in 33 and 34 as a narrator, as a super fan and all of that. But 33, he is very much one of these big people that are like, I gotta make this big move now. I gotta get rid of this person 4 rounds in advance because of this. And then the same thing here, where like he wants to go after Andrea at 11 or 12 because she's a threat to win the game. It's like, who cares? She's not going to go on some all-time run. It's not like, and at least from what we're shown, it's like, it's not like Andrea is the only person that you have to nip in the bud right now. There are a lot of people out there. So it just feels weird. And when he's sitting there in the hammock and he's saying, hey, of course I want to make a big move, blah, blah, blah. Ty is even getting on and saying, oh yeah, I want to be able to say something for my resume. It's like, no, Michaela is the most rational person on the season. Very similar to Brett and Millennials vs. Gen X, where Brett kept getting upset that people just kept doing things that went against what they should be doing. Michaela's doing the same thing here. It's like, you people are crazy. Why are we doing all of this when we had this alliance, once we got rid of Debbie, we have this alliance now that we could do something, and all of a sudden, no, you guys are immediately going to flip because Reasons. If Reasons was a character on this season, they would have swept, because that's why almost every move happened, is because of Reasons. Just a heartfelt moment, the Sari moment. Obviously they're trying to play it up as, but it's also it's still a moment that has always resonated with me. I think it was Sari and Brad Culpepper that were the captains. I still don't understand how Michaela didn't get picked between those two groups, because it's schoolyard pick, and Michaela is pretty damn good at challenges. We get the Sarah moment where she got another advantage. This time it's the steal a boat. When they blindside Sierra and Sarah puts on her derp face, and Aubrey and Andrea Belke kind of clock it as, that was weird. This is, for me, where the Sarah narrative of the cutthroat player starts to come into play, the player that everyone is laughing at Final Tribal, because we don't get a lot of Sarah. Like, we have to rely on other people at Final Tribal basically telling us how big of this huge bitch that she was, because we're not actually shown it in the edit. It's just like, why are these people so angry at this woman who really all she did one time was vote out Sierra to get her advantage, and that's really all we're shown. Do you think that there is a way that we could have been shown more of these moments and still have her portrayed as not necessarily a hero, but a protagonist? So I know they're based on the same, but like similar to like Todd. Like Todd wasn't Mr. Good Guy in China, but we still get these moments where we get more of a full story. I feel like we could have gotten this with Sarah, but they just get rid of all this negativity.
I think instead of having it at Final Tribal, there's got to be clips of people saying it. I mean, they ask about everything. There's got to be clips of confessionals saying it, because then at that point it feels like we missed. I would rather see things that might end up not mattering versus like, oh, all this stuff mattered but 7 episodes ago, but you're not hearing about it till right now because we weren't sure that it was going to matter. I think they really, I mean, obviously the 20s almost killed the show, but they didn't want to go back to even like a Mike Holloway. Like, they just didn't want to portray the eventual winner as any sort of a negative connotation whatsoever. Obviously unavoidable at Final Tribal, but people don't even remember that. I mean, who's listening to Final Tribal? Certainly not me. But with Adam, obviously a very positive winner. Michelle, positive winner, even with the Michelle versus Aubrey thing. Jeremy, one of the more positive portrayals of a winner.
Yeah, all he has is the Kimmy moment, and they bring that up. And like, she tried to turn on me.
They weren't going back to, oh, hey, our winner is kind of an ass. It just wasn't. It wasn't going to happen. I'm a fairly negative person, so even if I don't care, as long as it's just what is happening. I hate, like you said, I hate that we're hearing it from other people after it's happened. I don't mind if we're hearing it from other people while it's happening. I would rather see someone make fun of Sarah being mean, or like bitch about Sarah being mean, then watch Sarah be mean. I don't think that's necessarily enjoyable, but people's commentary on it is enjoyable. But yeah, we get to the end and it's like, okay, wait, who am I rooting for? And even if it's not like I'm going to root for the hero of the season, then you would be rooting for Troyzan, I guess, which, not even, it's just not even worth it. Cause yeah, he's like, I had fun. Like, no one's going to vote for me. It's all good. Just the best, dude. But yeah, it's more so like, why am I rooting for X instead of Y versus like, you shouldn't be finding new information at Final Tribal. You should be seeing other people's the jury's reaction to new information.
Yes. I brought this up yesterday with, like, because Adam Klein is portrayed, he doesn't get a negative edit, but he's portrayed as a fool in certain situations. And I appreciated that because we get a full story of, okay, yeah, he's doing these things and he is kind of following Hannah for a lot of it. And also he has this whole thing with Taylor at the merge where he tells Taylor about his advantage. Like Adam Klein is not shown as a Jeremy Collins. Adam Klein is shown, and talking about Sarah, I would have preferred the Jenna Maraska edit for Sarah, because Jenna Maraska is portrayed as a bitch for most of it, and she's portrayed as someone who wants to quit towards the end of the game. But we also see these other sweet moments about her in the season where it's like, okay, this is Jenna Maraska as a whole character, a whole player. This is Jenna Maraska. Sarah here, it's like, oh man, she voted out Sierra and got her advantage, and that's it. Like that's the only bad thing that she does in the game, and actually a good thing for her. It feels there's a disconnect when we get to that final tribal, which we're going to get to in a second, because we lose Andrea Belke for reasons. We lose Michaela for reasons, and bigger reasons, because Cirie, in one of her real only blunders in her career, says, hey, Sarah, these people are trying to blindside you. Ty's trying to blindside you. Sarah gives her steal a vote. Cirie tries to pull a move. Sarah says, hey, fucking read. And Cirie is like, oh man, that's crazy. I didn't see the fine print there. And they decide to turn the vote on Michaela randomly. We have no inkling that Michaela's name is even out there. She's just gone now.
Yeah, she's just out.
She's just gone. Reasons, the GOAT. We get to the finale, and we have this final six that is scarily familiar to 50. And it's just like, okay, yeah, if Cirie wins, I'm fine. If any of these other people win, either we haven't been told why they are, in Sarah's case, it's Ty who, like, oh man, like we've already seen Ty at Final Tribal. He's probably not going to win. It's Troyzin who's been buried through most of the edit, or it's Brad Culpepper who started off the season as this social character, the social strategic character, and has time to turn into a one-dimensional. He wins challenges and is also a bully to Ty randomly. Like it's crazy how that heel turn happens watching it this time, because it does come out of nowhere. He's not shown to be a bully at all throughout this, and all of a sudden he's talking down to Ty. This finale is weird. This finale is very weird, and it does not help that we start off with Advantage Geddon, which I think is the pinpoint location of this is why big moves and advantages are shit. This is what you get when you continue to promote. You need to do this. You need to do that. Every tribal needs to be better than the last. This is what you get. Advantage Geddon for you. What were your thoughts when you first watched it? Has your opinion changed throughout the years? I've always said that Cirie's the only truly robbed player in the history of the show here. Just kind of thoughts on all of that.
I mean, I don't even think this is Cirie's worst I think her Micronesia robbery of like, and again, it's not necessarily a robbery. It's like you had done so many final threes in a row. Now, because of the medevacs and because of everything, now you're going to do a final two.
Which mathematically doesn't make any sense, because the jury has 8 people at that point.
Even. Yeah, it's even. Yeah. Yeah, what the hell? That's a question for them. Like, literally what would have happened? I mean, it's really bad. I think at this point in my Survivor tenure, I was like fine with, more okay with advantages, twists, because I think, playing in the org community, being a hosting games has given me a much bigger appreciation for the players and how a season based on one decision production makes can really influence what happens. And it's almost never positive. It's looking back on it now, it might be one of the worst moments in the history of the show, if in terms of what it's done. Obviously, they're not trying to have, they're avoiding another advantage yet. And I do think every season they're like, all right, guys, we have this, and this in the game. We can't put anything more in the game. would advantage again be talked about as much if Ty goes home? Probably not.
Probably not.
If Troyzan goes home, no one cares, except me and you, maybe. But we lose Suri, and yeah, it literally comes down to, okay, is Culpepper could win out, that would be cool. I also think Aubrey, this was like her bounce back from, when I watched Ko Wrong live, I thought she should have won. So I was rooting for her to win, just to, have that. I also think, there's, you can't be a bad Survivor player and finish second and fourth, which is not true for a bad Survivor player finishing third twice, because you can be a GOAT Joe Hunter twice. It doesn't mean anything when you finish third. Rarely, actually, I think. Does it mean anything? Does it say anything for finishing third? I agree. Aubrey was not going to win, but at the time, I was like, I hope she wins. More so for a narrative that had been connected to a past season and not what we were watching. I think a lot of people were like, my mother, my brother included, are like, how did Brad not win? I think that's a completely reasonable opinion for casual fans to have. I mean, even just a bigger fan, someone who like analyzes the game further, because like, what are we watching? This season 50 is like, I mean, I kind of thought Aubrey was going to win fairly early into the game, just based on what she was getting. That's reading the edit as well. But like, how could you read the edit on the season? There's actually nothing. If you tried to read this edit as someone who, if you gave someone the first 33 seasons and were like, if someone went like 26 for 33 of like, just based on the edit, they weren't even shown the end, like the finale. They were just given like, who do you think is going to win? And they were right 26 out of 33 times, which would be a high percentage.
That'd be insane.
There's no rhyme or reason to picking anyone on the season, because there's nothing to go. You're not going to pick Troyzan. You're not going to pick Aubrey. You'd almost have to pick Suri, Brad, or Sarah, and
or Ty.
You couldn't write a 5-paragraph essay, as the teachers used to call it, on why that is, because there's no reason. And you shouldn't, like we've said a million times, that should never be the case, that we have watched the show for 12 weeks and someone is about to win $1 million and we have spent 12 hours watching and we have no idea why they're about to win $1 million. Until the final half hour. Obviously, you learn everything in Final Tribal. You learn why X and Y aren't going to vote for Brad. You learn why people are going to vote for Sarah. But it's not rewarding to get that, with a half hour to go in the show.
It's just they're kind of speed. This season is so. What I realized today is there's like 12 episodes in this season, not including the finale, or not including the reunion. I was like, why is this going by so fast? The season flows by, like it just kind of goes. And at no point today did I just feel like, oh yeah, this is a fun flow by. It's like, okay, yep, okay, next. Some things happen and Culpepper wins 5 immunities. That's exactly, some things happen. Culpepper wins 5 immunities, because that is, once Suri is gone, it's just that. It's just, oh, will this vote happen? No, Aubrey's gone. Oh, will this vote happen? No, Ty is gone. And we have Brad Culpepper being the last, right? The last male to win 5 immunities. Am I making that up? No, he's the last one, right?
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
Because there's been more women that have gotten 4 since.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say Rachel's won 4.
Chrissy won 4. Savannah won 4. Did Rachel win 4? I don't know.
I thought she won. I mean, on it, I could be wrong. But.
So we'll find out in a couple weeks. So begins the panel era of Final Tribal. So based off of your facial reaction, I know what your answer is. Ian, thoughts on the panel era of the Final Tribal?
You know what? And I like it for like I enjoy it at the time. Again, I don't mind when they try something that isn't detrimental to the game, and if it doesn't work, you just don't do it again. You know, to some extent, One World is kind of like that. You know, it's not a great twist. It didn't work out, but like they tried something and it was fun. Or it should have been fun. This, I mean, now, I mean, the panel on 50 was like so bad. First of all, everyone on an all-star season should get their time to ask their question and have it be answered. But they also, like the people on the jury in this season aren't, the whole season is not exciting. There's not a single thing to look forward to on this entire season. So I don't care that, like, I mean, I'm not a Final Tribal desirer. I don't like to watch Final Tribal. I think a lot of the time it's just a load of BS. People know who they're voting for before it happens. So they ask leading questions to people that they already know are going to be good answers. But it, like, why? I would rather Debbie go up there and just be crazy, because they'll ask a question. I you know, I don't remember if this happens in Game Changers, but people will ask a question, they'll get an answer, and then someone else on the jury will like analyze what that person said, and it's like, that shouldn't be a thing. Like, let someone ask. If you have a further question about what the question originally was, that's fine. But don't like justify their answer or be like, oh, can you tell us about like your insight, or like, you know, just for example, like
I have an example from Game Changers. So everyone's giving Sarah shit about, oh yeah, you made all these fake, and she's sitting there saying, oh, no, the bonds were real, and it's just that, and Ty eventually cuts in and is like, before whoever is going to ask the question next, I just want to say, like, I'm shocked hearing that Sarah was doing all this stuff, because I always felt like she was a and it's like, okay, Ty, it's like, I appreciated that moment, but it's also like, we've already established that she has probably played a lot of y'all, but also have these bonds. You being shocked by this has nothing to do with anything else, except for it's going to give Crazy Debbie more time to laugh at Sarah for sitting there pouring her heart out, and Debbie just doesn't get it because she's a crazy person. Sorry for cutting in.
No, I was just going to say, I just don't like, I was going to give an example, but that's a real example. Like, Ty saying that, it just doesn't have any effect on anyone's vote. Like, I don't want people on the jury to like attempt to sway other people in their vote, but like Ty being like, oh, this is surprising to me that Sarah was mean. That's not going to affect anyone being like, oh, wait, Ty's surprised by her being mean. That means maybe I should be surprised by her this or that. Like, maybe it wasn't true. Like, Ty is just surprised. Like, I don't think Ty being shocked should be some focal point. Or again, he just shouldn't. You shouldn't be allowed to talk unless you are asking clarification or asking your question, because other than that, it's just, wait, I want that rephrased for the person I want to win to give a better answer, or to you know, like say in 42, like Mary, I think one of the better, you know, Marianne's Final Tribal performance is probably one of my favorites of I don't even know if it's one of the better ones. It's just one of my favorites, because
just up there with Todd and Chris for me.
No one is like, no one knew about her idol. So her bringing that to the group's attention is so much better for me than like, oh, my alliance member knew who's on the jury, and my alliance member is like, oh, Marianne, what about that thing you told me at Final
Yeah.
9? Like, that would be so much worse. And I mean, it is so much worse, but just even for their game in general, like, that to me is like, okay, you almost set that up for, it'd be like Fair Play. That like reminds me of like Fair Play's friend coming in and saying his grandma died. Like, that to me feels as facetious and as fake as
As
that.
yes, I agree. I agree.
Like,
It's
it,
it
God, I
it
don't even know
doesn't.
I don't know what I
Well,
was going
it
to say.
doesn't help that the jury is pissed off. The jury, once again, when people complain about bitter juries, they only talk about juries where they feel their person lost. They never talk about the juries that are actually pissed off. And this jury is pissed off specifically at Brad and Sarah. That Sarah, they feel like she played all of them, like she pretended to be their friend, and she really wasn't. Obviously, what we're not showing on the short show is her swearing on her kids and the whole thing with the pebbles and the rocks and all of these things that are like beneficial to her game that we are not shown. So we're not, we're sitting here confused as to why these people are so like Andrea Belke's pissed off at her, Aubrey's pissed off at her, Debbie's pissed off, Ozzy. They're all so upset with this woman, and we don't see any of it. We just have to kind of, oh, they're upset because she's a social player. And thank goodness for Michaela, once again, the voice of reason this season, saying, y'all are just bitter that she played us. That's all. Like, y'all are a bunch of bitter bitches. Just get over the fact that she was our friend and also tricked us and voted us all out of the game. One of my favorite jurors of all time is Michaela Bradshaw because of that and because of the question she asked Culpepper of, tell me something you learned about me. And Culpepper knows where she went to school, and that's basically it. I brought up the fact that Sarah is catching a lot of heat here. Brad in his sack is also catching a lot of heat. Ty is the one that brings up, "Hey, I don't think you understand how you talk to people." And this is once again something that kind of comes out of nowhere in the finale. It's just like, oh yeah, Brad all of a sudden is yelling at Ty. I know we've talked a lot about the edit, but it's really getting nailed home how much we don't know about these two people at Final Tribal. And I do appreciate the Troy Zan moment, like I mentioned earlier, of him just kind of saying, hey, I know what this is. I kind of get what's going on here. I just want to say I've been a super fan since Richard Hatch. And the fact that I got to play again, it's like, yeah, that speech has always resonated with me. It's like, yeah, he bows out gracefully. They applaud him and everything. I really enjoyed the 15 confessionals of Troy Zan this season. Just quickly thoughts on Troy Zan 2.0 from what we're shown.
Well, first of all, Troy Zan 2.0 should have been on Second Chances. He just, some of the people that were, there's only a few people on Second Chances. You can't be mad at the cast because we voted for it.
We voted for it.
But it's a bummer that he wasn't on it. And then I think 90% of the reason they came back, like he came back for this season, or he was invited back for this season, is because they know he's a huge fan of the game. They felt like he probably deserved a spot on 31 and didn't get it. So I think that's part of the reason why he's here. It does suck that his, people remember, I would say evenly people remember this Troy Zan and One World Troy Zan. They're 5 years apart.
The game had changed so much by then too. Like,
yeah, he was a challenge, not a challenge beast, but he was probably one of the 3-4 better challenge players on One World. And I mean, in this
socially,
one, it's
he was fine. Like, strategic.
Yeah,
it's just because of, like, if you look at the final three, you get Brad Culpepper, who played in 27, and he's still pretty much the same as far as the physical person. But you get Sarah, who played in Cagayan, which is looked at as one of these game-defining seasons, and everything that happened there. She plays she played in an era where it's all about this. And I feel like Troyzan kind of got caught in a situation where if he had played on Karamoan, that's a winning game potentially. That is, I would say that
Oh,
is a
yeah.
winning game potentially. But like here, that's no longer a winning game. You can't win like that here.
Yeah, we're in a different era of Survivor. Even, I mean, I think the easiest way to separate the seasons is by tens. I just think it works easily like that. The first 10 seasons are the early days. The second 10 seasons are the Immunity Idol era. The third 21 through 30 is like, what is this? And then I think it was 21 through 30. I always say in my head is like, that's where they just tried a bunch of shit. I mean, every season has like some sort of theme, whether it's a previous theme or a new theme. And then the 30s is the big move era where it was like, okay, why don't we just calm down with all the theming and just let, I don't know, kind of let the gameplay. People don't care about themes anymore. By the time we're
same
here,
issue
they
that
don't
people
care
have with
about
the
it.
40s. Yeah, the same issue people have with the 40s is it starts here where it's like, oh yeah, oh just let the players play. It's like, yeah, the 30s they don't let the players play at all.
No.
They are purposely adding things to the game or changing up game dynamics to do the exact opposite to evoke big moves. We don't need a big move every episode. In fact, I would rather it not happen. I like the story of building towards. So, for example, Marquesas, we have Rob go home, merge. We lose John Carroll. Yeah, we lose the rest of the Road to 4, but we're leading to that final five. The next big moment in the season is that final five. And it's like, okay, I didn't need Tammy, or well, I guess Zoe through the general being like these all-time blindsides. It's fine to just kind of lead to that next big point in the show. And I feel like here it's no, we need to just keep going like this. No matter what. Even if the fans don't understand what's happening, we need to make sure they don't know what's going to happen so that they're shocked when it does happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Instead of like the, I don't know, they want each vote to matter, and instead of just it being like, for your example, like Zoe to the general, like those votes matter, but not each individual one is like needs to be its own thing. It doesn't need to be its own separate, like, oh, this caused the Sepia to win the game. It all caused her to win the game, but not each. You don't have to pull something that happened in each round to be like, that's why she won the game. It's okay for there to be rounds where it's just a round. People can go home for reasons. It just can't be reasons all the time. If we had,
yes, that is
if we had like the Debbie through Andrea saga in this, and it wasn't like Debbie's got to go home because like of this reason, and Andrea's got to go home. If it was because they have to go home because they're not in our alliance and they keep us from moving further in the game, or like if you're watching it for more of a personal narrative, like Sarah, for example, like they're keeping Sarah from winning the game, like they need to go home. It doesn't need to be that Debbie goes home for X, Andrea goes home for Y, Zeke goes home for, I was gonna say Z, but Z. It can just be they all go home for the same reason. I don't know. I don't think that would work for the casual fan or even like the COVID fan base. But for me, I miss that. We just don't need, we don't need like an episodic narrative. We need a seasonal narrative. That's why I love the Gabler win so much. And Gabler's not a great player, but that's why I'm like, the Gabler edit is like one of my favorite edits ever, because almost like once every 3 episodes, he's like
says something along the lines of like, I'm gonna be there at the end, and like they're not gonna believe it, but I'm gonna tell them, I'm gonna have a reason for being there.
Yeah.
But it's just, we don't get that anymore. It's an episodic thing. You can almost tell who's gonna win the game by the 7th episode, because if you've missed it, unless you're Erica from 41, if you've had an episode without a confessional, you're cooked. You're not winning.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's just I'm a firm believer that this 50 should have been the last. I think I said this when I was on for PG. That should have been the last season of this show, because we have gone to a place where I don't think we could come back without enraging the casual fan base or the super fan base. And I don't think it can survive without both. I think it's just we're on our last limbs, and I just worry about it getting worse and worse, because that's all the 40s were for me. Pretty much 47, it was something. 47, 40, and the 46 through 48 trio, all pretty solid in my opinion. But everything else, I just feel like we got worse in almost every aspect, and I don't see that stopping. And Jeff is just like running his own baby into the ground. Just like, oh, I raised you, I'm going to have a child and then raise it to be this great thing and then just kill it. And then just like stop giving. You need money for college to become better? No. You got to do it all on your own, or you're not going to college. Not that college is the only answer, but
Yeah.
like you understand what I'm saying is that we can't, and this is like a game changers rant as well, because this season it begins the overflowing pot of just ass. How many seasons can you genuinely say you are excited to rewatch from tomorrow to the end of this show, of your marathon?
1, maybe 2.
If I was in your shoes, I would say 3, and that's nothing from the 40s, no 50. Mine would be, actually I would say 2, because I'm a David versus Goliath non-believer. I think part of the reason that season is so enjoyable is because it is the most perfect theme of all time. I would be excited to watch Edge and Winners at War, because I think Edge
and Winners at War,
so
Winners at War and 41 are in the same category of me of nostalgia goggles. And my time this time watching, it's like I'm going to try to remove them as much as possible with the 40 and 41 specifically. In the 40s, I think I am excited to go back to 42 again. I'm really excited to watch 46, only because I don't think I appreciated enough the first 2 times. The first time I watched it was live. The second time I watched it was the last day of the marathon last time. So like I'm just trying to get through this so I can like sleep. I think this time I'm going to actually appreciate whatever it is, whether I dislike it or like it. At least I can actually put time into it in a day to figure out if I actually enjoy it or not. This is, I would say, not even this season, not even Game Changers, but I would say probably Second Chances and or Blood versus Water would probably be my final time of just being pumped that day that I'm going to be watching this, because not even Kagayan, where it's like, oh, I'm not, it's fine, but I had to binge watch that overnight last weekend in order to play rugby the next day. So like it was just a struggle, and I have to do that tonight with HHH, which means we have to get out of here soon. Sarah wins. She doesn't get Sierra, Debbie, or Ozzy's vote. I think Sierra is the only one that kind of stands out as not voting for Sarah, but probably she's just bitter. Sarah wins. The reunion, right before he reads the votes, Jeff says, when we were thinking about this idea for Game Changers and we're trying to think about who we wanted on the cast or whatever, we all decided on one thing. And it's the only thing that we actually cared about is that everyone came out and made big moves. And it's like, once again, this is why this era is not it for me, because they are just keep hearing this being reiterated, and they see all of these advantages keep getting added to the game. It's like, okay, yes, this is what they expect us to do now. And I'm so thankful that 36, I would feel like the bigger move person doesn't win. 37, the bigger move person doesn't win. 38, the bigger, like 39 is the biggest example of just Tommy's not out there doing anything other than just being Mr. Likeable. I appreciate that the winners in this era, with the exception of probably Mike Holloway and Ben, every winner that we have in this era are just the people that are, playing the social game despite the fact that there's all this dark cloud of whatever hovering over them. Ian, final thoughts on Survivor Game Changers before we get to our final questions.
Bad, but not as bad as, like, I don't think it's a bottom. We're up to 50. I don't think it's a bottom like 8 season of the show. I mean, it's just bad. And we've gotten to the point where I think a fair amount of our 50 seasons are bad. But it's just like, I'm not gonna be excited to watch. Yeah, it's a horrible returning player. It's bad for me. Like, I know people hate All Stars. I'm sure I think it's your least favorite season. Is that true?
No, it's Thailand.
Okay, someone I know that's their least favorite season. I didn't watch All Stars live. I didn't watch any of the seasons prior live. So to me, All Stars is, in my opinion, better than this. There's so much more to like. I mean, I think they were just better. I mean, they had All Stars. Those were All Stars. This is these aren't game changers.
There is a reason there's a meme of game changer fan favorite Sierra Dawn Thomas. It's not because she is. It's because people are mocking her, and it's not a knock on her. It's just, look at the cast you guys gave us.
Yeah.
For me, of 34 seasons, Game Changers is 21. Which, I do have it above All Stars and Caramoan.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's 21, right in front of Palau and right after Borneo, which I know you're not a fan of Borneo, right?
Hate.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's 21. By the time this is done, it'll probably be low 20s. But yeah, like you said, nowhere close to the bottom of the barrel, which I will be getting to over the next few days, and also in a couple more days after that. Ian, final questions. One, who would your ally be this season?
Oh, I feel like this is a season where I would have worked with someone like a Culpepper, Aubrey-ish, like two Culpepper on one side, and then Aubrey, or maybe like an Andrea. Dude, I'm not cool enough to work with Troyzan. Just, I feel like Culpepper would have been someone that like eventually was going to wear on people, was going to win immunities, but would have been willing to turn on. And then the Aubrey or Andrea person would have been for like center of gravity, center of ground, someone to bounce actual strategy off of. But that would have been my ally. By the way, before I forget, I only have up to 47 in my rankings, but I have Game Changers at 31 out of 47.
Okay, so yeah, like middle of the pack.
It would be 32 from 48. It's better than, very recent. I just really hated 50. I don't know if it would be better or worse than 49, but somewhere it would be 49 would be in that same range. I have it below
HHH by one spot and above Cook Island by one spot, which I hate. I'm a staunch hater of Cook Islands as well. So
Because you hate diversity in ethnicity. I get it.
no,
No,
for sure. Yeah, that's exactly why.
My it would probably be Suri, or who's like starting to come around on me as far as like I think I might have had a crush on her back in the day. Haley Ford. I would have worked with her because she's hot. So and then final question: something that the modern fandom would not like about Game Changers.
Oh, I do think what you said earlier. I think people like my mom would be confused. My mom was confused about who's working with who. I think the constant, and they were doing that with so many people in the game that it's like I genuinely don't know who's like the blue tribe one. And the only reason I know who's on the orange tribe is because we're seeing more of them because they're about to go to tribal. But I couldn't even tell you who's on the blue tribe. Latest comment, if you just want to bring it up.
Yeah.
All the more popular players left early, and I think that's a problem that the season was going to have no matter what. Suri is really the only really popular person to make it. I mean, even to the merge, because Sandra's gone.
Ozzy is like early merge. He's second boot of the merge. Oh, he's second boot of the merge. So like he doesn't.
Ozzy as well. Yeah, I honestly forgot he was there because.
Oh, but I don't even count. I don't count him as going because he's still in a cast of 20. He's
12.
Okay, so 12. So
12,
yeah, he's. Yeah. Suri is the big name that makes it far in the season. Very similar to 50, and I would say Ozzy and Aubrey are bigger. It's so crazy watching this today, realizing that all of these folks are on 50 and do fairly well on 50, including the eventual winner. For me, I think that the biggest issue that the modern fandom would have is, I feel like the fans now have shown that they don't like advantages, even though they love them back in the day, and they love them in their origin, their LRGs. I feel like they would have a big issue with specifically advantage getting, and rightly so. There should not have been that many things left in the game at that point. Okay, so that is it for Game Changers. I have to do an all-nighter tonight to watch at least most of HHH because I play in a rugby game hour and a half away from here tomorrow. I will be having, I think, a full panel tomorrow night. I can't remember. But we got HHH tomorrow night. And yeah, I've got about 2 weeks left, which still feels like a lot. Yes. Ian, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know that you had a long day, so I appreciate you were able to hop on here. Thank you once again to everyone. And we'll see you tomorrow for Survivor Heroes, Healers, Hustlers. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, it's perfect theme.